This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And we are back for another edition of the Onside Kick here on Most Valuable Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything football. And Mark, today was a familiar
It's a great day.
It's something to where we haven't done this in a while. Like, it has been 2 months to where I was like, oh, well, we're going to do the podcast tonight. And I'm like, shit, I gotta email Mark with possible topics to pick from.
Yeah.
Of what we could talk about. I haven't had to do that.
We're back.
In 2 months, and we got a jam-packed show. Like Mark said, it's a great day. Jay Cutler's back in the NFL.
Yeah.
He is back
it's
in
actually
the
a little bit of a
NFL.
sad day because we can't listen to him.
Well, you can't listen to him. I
week
know you
one.
really wanted to.
I wanted to hear that Jay Cutler sass up in the booth. It was going to be great.
I can live with hitting the pause button on that. I can live with hitting the pause button.
I'm a little bummed.
People are now loving and hating the move Jay Cutler back in the NFL. We're all also going to look at the Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott. Haven't been able to touch that story in a while. And then we're going to end the podcast with, some people might call it a clickbaity type of conversation, but we're going to respond to Jason Whitlock on Speak for Yourself. What'd he say, Mark? Odell Beckham is what?
Overrated.
He's overrated. We're going to ask that question later on in the podcast, but I want to get right into us. This is your guy, or when I say your guy, he played for your team. He is now playing for a new head coach, which is really not a new head coach. It's actually the offensive coordinator that he had with the Bears in 2015. What are you thinking about this move, Jay Cutler to the Dolphins?
Well, I like it. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, here you have Ryan Tannehill, who gets injured, and you got to go next up.
Very Teddy Bridgewater-like, except the severity was a lot less than Teddy's was.
Yeah, there's not a question of if Tannehill's career is over.
Yes, but his
Like
season is
Teddy.
probably over.
Yeah. So Jay Cutler makes sense. And the big thing here to me is, yes, you have Matt Moore there, but Matt Moore has always kind of been with Miami for a long time now, and he's never been that reliable guy that they really want. A lot of people are going to remember back in Miami's Hard Knocks days when Matt Moore had the job, and then he got hurt then, and then that's when Ryan Tannehill finally got his opportunity to take over the job in his rookie year. So Jay Cutler makes sense because of the quarterback connection with the head coach back when Gase was an offensive coordinator in Chicago and even back over in Denver days, quarterbacks coach back then. But that makes perfect sense. Statistically, many of his best years were with that year with Adam Gase. So a lot of those categories, check it off as the best. It makes sense. He's going to be able to walk in pretty easily. He's a veteran, so you're not going to just trust, whatever young guy that they drafted last year, whose name I'm blanking on. But
Brandon Daughtry, is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, you don't have to trust him to go out there and just hope for the best. So it makes sense to get some type of competition out there, even though Jay Cutler, I'm assuming, is not really in competition. He's probably just going to get the job. But yeah,
probably. The only thing,
this makes so much sense to me.
The only question with Jay Cutler is how quickly he can get into football shape.
And that's the tough thing. We're going to ask the question that a lot of people are wondering, can Jay Cutler get the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs? Now, the first thing we have to, of course, remember is
the competition.
Not the competition. They went to the playoffs last year. So they went to the playoffs already, and Ryan Tannehill got hurt last year as well. Now, they already went there, so Jay Cutler is not that much different from Ryan Tannehill. Some of you are going to want to say he's worse than Ryan Tannehill, and feel free. But still, it's not that big of a drop-off when you still have a great defense and a great run game. So he can certainly get there. Now, the big question here for a lot of people is going to be, all right, but is Jay Cutler going to be a guy who is ready to get in there? He made the joke himself of, well, good thing about being a quarterback is you don't need that good cardiovascular.
Yeah.
And some people, of course, are going to hate that, and other people are going to think it's funny, but that is a big question mark. Is he going to be in football playing shape? Has he been working out much? I mean, you assume he's athlete. He's probably working out, but is he ready to go? Is he in football playing shape?
There have been articles recently I mean a few hours of us recording this, that have said he talked about this and even said it's not going to take him long to get into football shape. And I feel like that's what most of the preseason will be, because let's be honest, if you're the Miami Dolphins, I know he's not going to play this upcoming Thursday in their first preseason game. Let's be honest, you don't really if he doesn't play until week 3, I'm fine with him not playing until week 3.
It really doesn't matter that much.
That it's you don't have to have him out there to see what he can give to your team. Yeah, part of me is you know what, I kind of want to see him out there a little bit, but you can use kind of practice and all of that to kind of simulate some game-like situations.
Well, plus he's been in the NFL for 11, 12 years now. I think he'll be all right. I think he can figure it out. And not to say that, he doesn't need practice and he can just get up off the couch and go out there and sling it. But yeah, you don't need a ton for a guy like this. Jay Cutler, honestly, let's say he was still in Chicago. Let's ignore 2016. So he's still in Chicago. He's probably not going to play week 1. He's probably not going to play week 2. He'll come in week 3, sure. So nothing really would have changed whether he was still in Chicago or now being in Miami.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that I'm looking at right here is, what is this team, why is Jay Cutler the right fit for this team? Because the easiest talking point is basically, him and Adam Gase were together in Chicago, and it was Jay Cutler's arguably to me, best career season that he's had. I know touchdown to interception, it was his best TD to INT ratio that he's ever had in his career, but arguably to me, it was one of the seasons where I'm a Jay Cutler hater, I even looked at it and was like, Jay don't look too bad this year. Jay doesn't look that bad, and I look at that season, and if you look at the stats, kind of similar in areas to Ryan Tannehill from last year. I mean, Tannehill had 3% higher on the completion percentage, but you had 19 to 12 for Tannehill last year. That 2015 season with Gase, 21 to 11 for Jay Cutler. So a little bit higher and then a little bit lower in the areas that you want. The big thing that Jay had, and I know it's because the Bears team was constructed a little bit differently, is that he had almost 4,000 yards in passing yards, where Tannehill only had just shy of 3,000. And the thing I love...
To be fair, 3,600
Yeah,
yards.
36. I mean...
Not as close to 4,000.
But 36 compared to 29.95 was where Tannehill was. And the thing that I like the most about this is you look at that 2015 year, the Bears had a rushing attack, but it was kind of a dual-headed rushing attack. You had Matt Forte with just under 900 yards, but he only had 4 touchdowns. That was where Langford had 500 yards and 6 tutties on the ground. You now give Jay Cutler, to me, arguably the better running back than both of those that season in Jay Ajayi, coming off of a huge 2016 season.
Yeah, that run game, I mean, was great last year, and people were expecting it to continue that step forward. Now, the defense reminds me of some of those days that Jay Cutler got to enjoy early in his time in Chicago when they had that really good Monsters of the Midway defense. Now, there were other things wrong with that team. I mean, you might think about 2012, right? Or 2000, I don't remember.
You're talking about the treadmill year?
Treadmill year.
Are you talking about the bike, the
I'm talking about
exercise
treadmill
bike
year. It was that 2011 or 2012? I'm blanking on it.
It was not 2011 because I pulled that up. I think it might be 2012.
You think about that defense that he had then and that running game he had then. He didn't have much around him to pass the ball to, but that's kind of a little bit of what he's going to enjoy in Miami. Now, I don't know if you're going to say that defense is as good as that Chicago Bears defense was that
2010,
year.
That's what I
it was
thought
2010.
It's 2010 because
longer than I thought.
Because 2012 was the year where my Vikings were the 6th seed. We were the 6th seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was a fun time. That was the Joe Webb year,
That was the
right?
Joe Webb year, yeah.
So it actually was longer ago than I thought it was. Now, so you have a good defense like that. You have a good running game here. that's going to help out Jay Cutler, especially if Adam Gase and what he kind of likes to do, which is let the run game lead and let the quarterback just make smart decisions, which I know we're talking about Jay Cutler here, but his lowest interception year, 2015, with Adam Gase, minus 2011, but he only played 10 games that year.
And I mean, the other thing I'm looking at right now is I know that the Jay Cutler year wasn't an Adam Gase year, because I'm looking at that 2010 year.
Yeah.
He went all the way to the NFC Championship game that year.
Yep.
You look at Matt Forte that year. He had 1,069 rushing yards, 6 tutties, 4.5 yards per attempt, and 66.8 yards per game. You look at Jay Ajayi last season, more yards, had 1,272, had 2 more touchdowns at 8, had about 0.4 more yards on the ground per attempt, and he had, almost 20 yards more per game than Matt Forte in that year. And like I said, I know it's different systems, but you're giving now Jay Cutler a better running back, a guy who had a better season than the guy that he had when he went to the NFC title game.
Yeah, and a big thing for those of you who are maybe looking to get excited about Jay Cutler, you just got to ask, some of these Bears fans who aren't the ones that just hate him, what were the good times? When you remember, once again, I am being a terrible Bears fan right now. It's late at night, and I can't think of which season this was either. But that 7-3, I'm pretty sure it was 2011. That 7-3 record that the Chicago Bears had, absolutely kicking ass out there. Jay Cutler firing on all cylinders. This team looks like they're ready to go. This is the year the Bears are finally going to get back to the Super. Oh, Jay got hurt.
Yeah.
And the team collapsed from there. And
that was the Mark Trestman year, or was it
no.
Mark
This was before Mark Trestman.
You're saying you're not talking about the one where was it McCown that came in against the Cowboys on Monday night?
That was good too.
Because that was another
this
year
was a
where
Lovie
Jay got
Smith
injured.
year.
Okay.
Every year Jay got injured. Let's be real. The only season that Jay did not with the Bears get hurt was 2009, and that wasn't that good of a year for him.
Yeah.
Because he threw a shit ton of interceptions. But yeah, I mean, the first Mark Trestman year was great for Jay. Actually, the second one was pretty good for Jay too, until he kind of got thrown under the bus. But he had some good years of Lovie Smith as well. Nothing amazing. You're not going to get this guy who's going to be Aaron Rodgers, who's going to sling it like Tom Brady, like Peyton Manning, any of these guys. That's not what you're looking for. What you're looking for out of a guy like Jay Cutler is a guy who can throw it deep when you need him to, but a guy who you're going to want to contain a little bit. You want him to be made better by what's around him.
The 2011 season was one where by week 11 you were 7-3.
Yeah, that's the one I'm
And then
thinking
it was lost to the Raiders, lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Broncos, lost to the
He got
Seahawks,
hurt,
lost to the Packers.
and the team fell apart.
But you beat the Vikings.
Well, that's
twice
what's
that
important.
Year. You beat them twice
That's what's
that year.
important. And it's just the kind of thing where this Dolphins team was going to be a good team with Tannehill. If you're going to be cynical, you're going to say Jay Cutler is a little worse than Tannehill. If you're going to really be cynical, you're going to say he's the worst quarterback in the world. But you're probably going to say he's a little bit worse than Tannehill. I'm thinking that's what a lot of the people in the comment section are going to say. But here's the thing. If Tannehill could get you to the playoffs, a little bit worse than Tannehill probably can still get you to the playoffs. And well get to that discussion later, but I'll let you finish what you were going to say.
The thing that I was going to say is when he was with the Bears, I was one of the biggest Jay Cutler haters at MVP. And I'll be honest, and maybe it's because of the system that he's coming into. It's because Adam Gase is there, and I've seen what he can do with Adam. But part of me feels like this is a slight upgrade for the Dolphins. And I only say that, I want to say I'm only saying that because of the situation he's stepping into. Now, another thing that we got to bring up with this that is kind of like throwing a wrench into the situation, there's stuff now going on with Jarvis Landry where he could be facing suspension for off-the-field issues.
Yeah.
So that could be a wide receiver, a weapon that Jay Cutler is losing for possible games.
Yeah, and
slot receiver, that is.
Now, fortunately, Jay Cutler is used to not having anything to throw the ball to.
Because of injuries.
You got that. But yeah, I mean...
Did we mention the Bears get injured a lot?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's, maybe Jay Cutler suddenly won't get injured now that he's in Miami. But yeah, I think that it's just, it's bad, but you got to at least hang your hat on, we have a great run game. We have a great defense. What I'm more concerned about than the possible suspension to a wide receiver is the offensive line's not that good. It really
we know
isn't.
what happens to Jay when he's not behind a good offensive
Jay
line. He's on
Cutler
his back,
knows what happens when Jermon Bushrod is on his team.
which he is now.
He currently is one of his offensive linemen. He knows what happens. He ends up on his back.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's how the guy gets hurt. That's how Matt Moore ends up needing to play, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I can see it happening because it's very much in line with what would happen to a Jay Cutler career. If he goes out, we got this first game for the Dolphins, and they got to play, it's the Buccaneers, so it's going to be another Florida team. And you know what happens?
What?
Sacked and hurt.
Don't put that juju on me, Ricky Bobby.
It's just the kind of thing where it would make sense for Jay Cutler's career.
If that
he
happens.
goes there because he's going to be the guy who's going to keep everything afloat, and then he just gets sacked and hurt because, once again, a bad offensive line leads to a guy getting hurt. I mean, he just came off of a really bad injury that would ruin a lot of quarterbacks' careers.
You know what's kind of funny? The 2015 year that Jay was with Adam Gase,
Yeah.
sacked 29 times. Guess how many times Ryan Tannehill was sacked last season?
29?
29 times.
It's fate.
So maybe Jay goes 29 times, but I mean, looking at that 2011 season that I mentioned, that really good one, 23. He was only sacked 23 times that year.
Yeah, only 23.
So if you can keep Jay upright, you can give him that run game with Ajayi. Like I said, the biggest question will be Jarvis Landry to see what happens with him with everything that's going on with his off-the-field issue. And then the thing is, this Miami defense is no joke. So if you, that's the big thing. When this happened, I was like, oh, good. You're giving Jay a solid defense. Not the best defense in the league, but you're giving him a solid defense. You're giving him a solid run game. You're giving him a chance to win.
And the thing about this defense is they got hot at the end of the season, too. They were moving when they needed to. And that's really what you're going to need. You're going to need this team to click at the end of the season, because we asked the question, of course, can they get into the playoffs?
Maybe.
And I think it's going to be tough, because I can get them to 9-7 wins. I can believe that can happen. Now, there's some things that got to happen in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
And there's also some help they need in the fact of, we're hoping Deshaun, if I'm Miami Dolphins fans, I'm hoping Deshaun Watson is not all he's cracked up to be. I'm hoping that Andrew Luck maybe spends more time on the bench than he does on the field. I'm hoping that a team like the Bengals continues to be down. I'm hoping that maybe the Chiefs or the Broncos don't really compete that well in the AFC West for that division.
More so the Broncos. The Chiefs are going to compete.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the things you're hoping for. You're hoping that the Jets do in fact go 0-16, and that the Bills don't compete either. There's quite a bit that needs to go your way, because I can get you to 9-7. I can't really believe that you're going to get higher than that.
Here's what I've got for my Dolphins right now, and not my Dolphins, but my Dolphins season.
In Ricky's head.
I've got right now preliminary. This is preliminary. 2 weeks until we finalize these, Mark.
Yep.
2 weeks from today until we finalize them. I've got 7-9. However, there are 3 games I'm looking at that could be flip games to get you to 10-6. At the Chargers, Jay Cutler don't like Phillip Rivers.
No,
he gonna want to win that game.
It gets nasty.
You win that game, another one week 8 against the Ravens. I don't know how the Ravens are doing. With Ryan Tannehill, I was going Ravens. But with Jay Cutler, maybe they're feeling something. Maybe they can win that game. And then week 15 against the Bills, early on, I was like, you know what, split. Ryan Tannehill with the split. Jay Cutler might be able to beat the Bills twice. That's 10-6. And in my situation right now, 10-6 gets you in as the 6th seed.
Yeah.
And in this situation, if I kept it, you would play the Steelers in the first round again. And probably lose, let's be honest. The Steelers would probably beat you.
Steelers are a good team.
But don't worry, the Patriots got your back like a good friend. Good friend for the AFC East, and they'll beat the Steelers.
Don't worry, you little Dolphins. We'll take care of the Steelers for you.
I got one more thing I want to throw your way.
All right.
And this is a Twitter response that I received on my personal at Ricky Widmer. Go and follow me. And this is from Eric Kwan. You can go follow him at the Statsman on 3. Always sending us good stuff. Always getting in on the conversation. And he says, at Ricky Widmer, Dolphins made a mistake by adding Jay Cutler. His body language shows he does not have desire in winning. Hashtag NFL. Can we stop with the, like, and this is
I
the
would
same,
love it.
This is the same thing with Stephen A. Like, my issue is more with what Stephen A said today. Like, I get Jay Cutler's body language. You're looking at it and you're like, that's not a guy that wants to win. There's a part of me that just says, and maybe this is me kind of coming over to the I don't hate Jay Cutler. Maybe it's because he's not on the Bears.
Probably.
Maybe that's it. He's
Well,
not
you
on
haven't
the Bears
seen his
anymore.
face in a while.
I haven't seen it in a while. So I was getting used to hearing the voice, not seeing the face. Maybe it's just if he didn't want to win, he wouldn't have signed with the team. But also, more so on the Stephen A side, can we just stop bringing up that 2011 game? When are we going to stop bringing up the treadmill game?
2010.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was 2011.
2011.
Yeah. But 2010 season going into 2011. The thing that blows my mind with the treadmill game is, like, I get it. The man was on a treadmill, and that upsets you. And I get it. We did not know enough.
He was just pedaling
at
that
the time
bike,
of the game.
Just pedaling that bike.
But it's already been said a million times.
It's been 6 years, too.
That he had a very legitimate injury in that game, and him being out on the field would have been worse than the pitiful, backup. Actually, who did pretty decently in that game.
Was that Henny?
I believe it was
Haney or Haney?
No, Haney.
Haney.
It was a Caleb.
I couldn't remember if it was Caleb Haney
No,
or...
Caleb. I don't think Caleb Haney was around back then. Fuck, 2000. It's been such a long time. I can't believe I'm talking about the Chicago Bears in 2010 again.
It's been forever. I'll look it up, Mark. You keep talking. I'll look it up.
We've already gotten past that, and he did well. He almost brought the Bears back to beat the Packers, although, let's be real, they weren't going to beat the Packers. So there was that.
You were hoping, though.
Oh, of course. I would love them to go back to the Super Bowl one of these days if they win.
Yeah, it was Caleb Haney.
It was Caleb Haney. Wow.
Caleb Haney.
Man. It's been a whirlwind of a day going back in history to a lot of disappointment. But here's the thing. So we've already discussed this. Why does it keep coming up? And really it only comes up with people who, no matter what you say, they're going to hate Jay Cutler.
The thing about body language, though, that you said before the podcast, before we end it, because we're running a little low on time with the camera, tell me, because you had the perfect thing about the body language.
The thing about the body language is, you are not a body language expert. I can guarantee you that you are
neither of us, so it's okay.
I can guarantee you're not an expert on body language, first of all. Second of all, the thing you need to remember about body language is your eyes are going to tell you what they want to see. And they will deceive you almost every time. If you want to see this guy does not want to play, he is not a leader, you are going to see it out of him. Just watch Congress. And I know nobody wants to watch Congress, but go to C-SPAN and you watch it. You watch it, and then you look at the political pundits, and you say, especially on Twitter, see what they say about body language. They'll say, there's no way this bill is going to pass because look at everybody's body language. They look defeated. And then what happens? It passes anyways. Want to know why? Because there's other shit going on. They could be talking about how their basement just flooded, how their mistress is leaving them because she's sick of being the other woman, whatever it might be. And Jay Cutler just has a damn pouty face.
He does.
Let's get over the fact that the man has a pouty face.
That's why it was called Crybaby in Denver.
Well, that's not the only reason he was called Crybaby in Denver.
It was part of the reason.
It was part of it, but he also did a little bit of crying about the new quarterback.
He did.
But anyways, it's just the thing of you're not a body expert, neither am I. None of us know what's going on. Jay Cutler's team has gone to bat for him time and time again, so obviously they must have liked him. Zach Miller today was just talking about how he was a great teammate back when he played with him, and he played with Jay in some rough times when Chicago was and still is a terrible team.
A dumpster fire?
Yeah, so somebody likes him. Somebody must like him. So I don't know. Let's just get over it. Let's just stop talking about it.
And this is where you guys come in. I want to thank Eric for tweeting at me and having this add to the conversation. You guys can do the same, or you can let us know down below in the comment section. Let us know What do you guys think? Can Jay lead this team to the playoffs? Is this a good signing? We didn't even talk about the contract 1 year. I think it's great. It's kind of an audition
that's all you need.
for Jay to possibly get some more work. But let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section.